Breaking alert: never throw stones at a quiet storm. By the time they realized you weren't just rain, it was already too late. Chosen one, lean in. Making you an enemy will go down as the loudest mistake they ever authored. That's not a warning, it's a spoiler. They let ego pick a fight their soul couldn't survive. They crossed a line into a battlefield they were never built for, and misread your stillness as fear, your grace as weakness, your silence as surrender, never knowing you were loading a comeback that doesn't just end the story, it rewrites the genre. Karma's a savage B-times, and she never misses her appointments. Hear me, you are not average stock. Your presence shifts atmospheres and rattles the counterfeit peace people build on lies. You carry weight they can't measure: integrity, alignment, depth. That's why they tried to erase you instead of elevating with you. But you can't erase what was never written in pencil. They lit a fire under you, thinking it would turn you to ash. It forged you instead. The version of you they tried to break no longer exists. Now they're chasing a ghost, while you rise on wings they helped build by accident. Let's move together. If your spirit is saying, "This is my word," drop 777 inches the comments to seal it. Follow the channel so you won't miss what unfolds next. And thank you deeply to every quiet legend fueling this mission through shares, prayers, and super thanks. Your support is oil for the lamp. It keeps this light visible for other chosen ones finding their way home. Stay close. Next I'll map the 3 stages of reversal: exposure, correction, elevation, and show you how to protect your peace while the truth does its work behind the scenes. Before we go deeper, ask yourself with honesty, now that the storm has proven you, will you spend your strength explaining the past, or stand in the future their attack accidentally prepared you for? God's chosen ones. They tried to hurt you, but karma's a savage bitch. They launched a war without reading the warning label. They picked a fight with a storm while wearing headphones. And you, God's chosen one, stood in the stillness of divine alignment, carrying not fear, but revelation. They mistook your silence for surrender, unaware that your quiet was sacred armor forged in prayer. When they moved against you, they weren't facing a mere person, they were trespassing on holy territory. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, declares Isaiah 54:17. And those words are not just comfort, they're a cosmic law written into the structure of divine justice itself. You were never alone. While they whispered and plotted, heaven had already positioned angels around you. They thought you were walking without backup, but the unseen army behind your steps had been mobilized long before their schemes began. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still, says Exodus 14:14, and your stillness was obedience in motion. That was your strategy to trust divine timing, while others scrambled for control. Your supernatural perception knew what they couldn't see. That power does not need to perform to prove itself. The truly anointed do not shout. They shift atmospheres by being. You moved through each attack like light through stained glass, unharmed, redirected, refracted into beauty. What they called weakness was actually mastery, a discipline born of prayer and presence. You ever wonder why silence unsettles those who live on noise? Why peace provokes those addicted to drama? It's because your calm exposes their chaos. They misread your restraint as emptiness, yet your restraint was orchestral. It was God conducting unseen justice through your stillness. They called you cold, but your composure was the language of heaven. When King David walked toward Goliath, the crowd saw a boy. Heaven saw a covenant. For the battle is the Lord's, 1 Samuel 17:47 reminds us. In the same way, they saw you as fragile, unaware that your faith had already tilted the scales of the unseen. Every insult thrown your way was simply ammunition rerouted back to them, measured and multiplied by divine order. The painter Caravaggio once captured divine tension in The Taking of Christ. Christ stands calm while chaos swirls, a light illuminating his face amid betrayal. That is what your endurance looked like, sacred restraint in motion. True power doesn't react, it reveals. And when your silence spoke, it dismantled everything false built on your name. Immaculée Ilibagiza, the Rwandan survivor and speaker, once said that when she forgave those who wanted her dead, she stepped from human pain into divine peace. That is your same path, chosen one. You forgave without forgetting, healed without hatred, and walked out of the ruins carrying the fragrance of mercy. While they cursed your name, you blessed your destiny. And let's not forget the villains, the pharaohs of this age who mistake your mercy for weakness. Like him, they hardened their hearts and learned the cost. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. Galatians 6-7 reminds us. They built their comfort on lies, unaware that every deceit comes with an expiration date. Their collapse wasn't random, it was reckoning. You, however, were not unarmed. You were unbothered. You learned that the chosen never chase noise. They let truth echo on its own. Your power was not volume but vibration. You didn't retaliate because your peace was the counterstrike. When Job said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him," Job 13:15, he was describing what you lived. Pain was not your end. It was your initiation into purpose. Your story carries the same quiet strength as Schubert's Ave Maria, a hymn soft in tone yet immortal in power. The melody does not scream, it sanctifies. Like that song, your endurance became a living prayer that heaven heard long before the world understood. Meanwhile, your enemies wonder why doors close, why opportunities vanish. They call it bad luck. But divine consequence isn't random, it's rhythm. They misread feedback as fate, not realizing the storms around them are simply justice arriving on schedule. While their illusions crumble, you rise not bitter, but rebuilt. A young man named Elias, a street cleaner in Manila, once said, "When they step on me, I pray for their shoes." He wasn't being poetic, he was being prophetic. You carry that same heart. You understood that grace outlasts gossip, that humility is the most advanced form of revenge, and as their world shakes, yours stabilizes. You're glowing now not from applause, but from alignment. You have learned that karma is not cruelty, it's choreography directed by divine wisdom. They tried to humiliate you, but heaven turned that humiliation into holy ground. Now, your peace is louder than their pride. Your calm has become their consequence. You didn't need to prove anything, your survival is the proof. You didn't need to clap back, your rise clapped loud enough. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Romans 8:28 declares, and your life stands as its living testament. So, to every chosen one reading this, reflect. What wound did God use to awaken your wisdom? What silence became your shield? Share your story below, not to boast, but to bear witness. Because your scars are sermons, and your endurance is evidence. You are the plot twist they didn't predict, the proof they can't erase, the peace they can't imitate. This isn't just karma, it's divine restoration. This isn't just revenge, it's poetic justice. And you, chosen one, are God's living line of poetry. They envied the brilliance they couldn't replicate. They tried to dim what they couldn't comprehend. But what they didn't know, chosen one, was that your light was never a performance. It was a divine gift, a signature from heaven etched into your soul. Their envy was not born from hatred, it was born from confusion. They couldn't understand why you glowed differently, why peace followed your presence, why you carried a supernatural perception that seemed to pierce through pretense. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, says Matthew 5:14, and that's exactly what frightened them, your unhideable radiance. They cloaked their jealousy in compliments, their bitterness in banter. They smiled through gritted teeth, disguising insecurity as advice. You felt it, didn't you? That strange energy when your authenticity entered the room. Suddenly laughter turned nervous, praise turned performative. Their souls saw something they couldn't name, the reflection of who they might have been had they not traded authenticity for approval. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, writes 1 Corinthians 13:4. Yet envy became their language while love left their lips. And yet, you did not retaliate. You didn't need to. You carried the peace of one who knows their source. Your calm disarmed them because it revealed what they lacked. Your quiet confidence became a mirror, reflecting their emptiness. Have you ever felt that chill when a friend's smile hides a wound directed toward you? That's what happened. Their admiration decayed into envy because they could not access what came naturally to you. Grace under pressure, truth without show. You didn't trigger them because you tried too hard. You triggered them because you existed without apology. Your essence exposed their imitation. You didn't boast about your divine gift. You embodied it. And that is what they couldn't bear to witness, someone walking in purpose while they wandered in pretense. You were the candle they tried to blow out, not realizing that the same breath fuels the flame. The 19th century painter Jean-François Millet once said he painted peasants as if they were kings. That's what your presence does. It turns the ordinary sacred. You, without effort, elevate the atmosphere. Yet that very glow made those bound by comparison uncomfortable. Their criticism wasn't about your light, it was about their shadow. Like Cain before Abel, they mistook favor for favoritism. Why are you angry? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? Genesis 4:6-7. But they chose resentment over reflection, destruction over devotion. And in doing so, they stepped into the same trap Cain did, believing that another's blessing diminishes their own. They tried to dim you, not realizing that touching sacred flame only burns the unprepared hand. You weren't built to blend in. You came coded with divine distinction. Chosen ones don't adjust their wattage to make others comfortable. And though they accused you of arrogance, the truth is that humility shines brightest when it refuses to hide. You carried stillness like royalty, purpose like pulse, and authenticity like armor. And that's what tore at their ego. A poet once wrote, "The sun never competes with the moon. It simply rises." That's you. You never competed. You just continued. While they gossiped, you grew. While they schemed, you served. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult, but with blessing, says 1 Peter 3-9, and you lived it. Every time you blessed instead of biting back, heaven took note. Their downfall was not your doing, it was their decision. They built cages of comparison, mistaking confinement for comfort. Meanwhile, you were learning freedom, the kind that doesn't need an audience to affirm it. You were healing in silence, building in secret, ascending without announcement. Their whispers couldn't touch what was protected by prayer. One of history's quieter villains, Haman from the Book of Esther, plotted against a faithful servant named Mordecai. Yet the very gallows he built became his own end. Esther 7:10. Likewise, your adversaries crafted their own consequence. The lies they spread became the echo that exposed them. Their jealousy scripted a story whose ending was justice. But you, chosen one, kept your heart pure. You learned that your glow isn't revenge, it's revelation. That jealousy from others is often confirmation that you carry something heaven issued. Have you ever noticed how trees closest to the light cast the longest shadows? That's what happened. The brighter your purpose, the louder their projections. Still, there is mercy in this. For those blinded by envy, there remains the chance to see again. For those who wounded you out of insecurity, there remains redemption. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke 23:34 reminds us, and your strength now lies in echoing that prayer. Forgiveness is your crown, it keeps your light clean. So how do you move forward? Not by shrinking, but by shining responsibly. Guard your divine gift without guilt. Stay anchored in humility, but never apologize for your glow. Surround yourself with those who celebrate light instead of fearing it. When envy approaches again, and it will answer it with excellence. Let your work speak, your peace preach, your presence teach. As a modern example, Maya Angelou once told a student, "Nothing can dim the light that shines from within." You embody that truth now. Every step you take is a sermon. Every success is a psalm. You no longer need to prove anything. The evidence is your existence. So rise, chosen one. Rise higher than the noise, higher than the shade. Your light is not for approval, it's for purpose. And those who once mocked you will one day quote you. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Isaiah 60:1 declares, and that moment is now. Your glow isn't revenge, it's revelation. Walk boldly in it. Those who once envied you will either evolve or exit, and both are blessings. Because the lesson is clear. Trying to kill what was meant to awaken you only guarantees you stay asleep. But you didn't fall for that. You rose, you healed, you became. They walked away from the bridge meant to save them. They fumbled the realest one they would ever meet. And you, chosen one, stood there, not in rage, but in revelation, understanding at last that your presence had been their lifeline, not their limitation. What they mistook for control was actually divine calibration. You were not sent to dominate their story, you were sent to align it. Your supernatural perception had already discerned what they could not see. That proximity to you was proximity to purpose. Whoever receives you receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me. Matthew 10:40 reminds us. And when they turned their back on you, they didn't just reject a person, they rejected an assignment. It cuts deep, doesn't it? Not because it broke you, but because you finally see it clearly. You were never too much. You were too authentic for a world addicted to illusions. You were the mirror that exposed the cracks in their character, the reflection that demanded truth. They called you dramatic, but what they really feared was the disruption your peace caused to their chaos. Their spirit wasn't ready for stillness. Their hearts weren't trained for real connection. They mistook healing for control because they'd only ever known manipulation disguised as love. You showed up not to compete, but to complete. You didn't come to take, they came empty-handed to what was supposed to be an exchange. Like the blind man in Mark 8:23, they were offered healing but walked away mid-process, too proud to let the miracle finish its work. He took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the village. Scripture says, God was leading them out through you, but they preferred comfort over clarity. In psychology, there's a phenomenon called cognitive dissonance, the discomfort people feel when truth challenges their illusion. That's what you caused in them. Your integrity disrupted their instability. And instead of evolving, they escaped. They ran back to what was familiar, even if it was toxic, because the light you carried demanded accountability. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it, John 1:5 declares. And that is why your presence shook their foundations. They were never built to withstand that kind of exposure. They called you too deep, but you were never too deep. You were simply the first person in their life to walk without pretending. Have you ever noticed how those unhealed tend to hate those who no longer bleed the same way? They mistook your calm for control, your clarity for arrogance, and your patience for pride. But all you were doing was maintaining divine equilibrium. A man named Mateo, a cafe worker in Lisbon, once told a regular customer who ghosted him after months of deep conversations, "I still pray for him, not to come back, but to see truth." You carry that same grace. You bless what's gone without bitterness. You release without resentment. You understand now that closure isn't something they give, it's something God builds inside you. You didn't lose them, they lost access to you. There's a difference. You were a divine frequency sent to recalibrate their static, but they mistuned the signal. And once heaven retracts a connection, it rarely reopens the same door. When you enter a town and they do not receive you, shake the dust off your feet. Luke 9-5 instructs. That's exactly what you did. You didn't slam the door, you sealed it in peace. They will feel the absence soon, if they haven't already. The silence that follows a chosen one isn't quiet, it's convicting. Conversations around them now sound hollow because truth has left the table. The people they replaced you with can't hold the same depth. The laughter feels forced, the connections brittle. What once felt alive now feels artificial because your light wasn't companionship, it was oxygen. And when they try to return, they'll find the bridge gone, not burned in vengeance, but dissolved by consequence. You were the connection heaven offered once, not a subscription they could renew. Grace has policies too, and one of them is that ungrateful hearts lose access to divine gifts. Do not give what is holy to dogs. Do not throw your pearls before swine, Matthew 7-6 teaches. You were the pearl, rare and radiant, and they mistook you for decoration. You didn't come demanding anything, yet your very existence required truth, and that frightened them. They called you controlling, but what they meant was convicting. Your stability threatened their story of victimhood. You were the still water that made their internal storms visible. And so, like Jonah fleeing Nineveh, they ran, not realizing that every step away from you was a step away from their own redemption. The science of resonance says two frequencies cannot stay in harmony if one refuses to tune. That's why the connection cracked. It wasn't your fault. You were aligned with purpose, they were aligned with pride. Eventually, dissonance demands distance. And here's the revelation. You leaving was not rejection, it was graduation. You didn't exit from bitterness, you ascended through boundaries. You realized you were not called to remain where your peace is misread as passivity. Your light was meant to illuminate, not to negotiate. You were the upgrade they couldn't install because their system was outdated. The villain in this story? A man like King Saul, once anointed, later insecure. When David's authenticity began to shine, Saul saw it as a threat instead of a blessing. Saul was very angry. They have ascribed to David 10,000s. 1 Samuel 18-8 says, "Jealousy turned honor into hostility, and that same spirit lives in those who rejected you." Their downfall, like Saul's, began the moment they confused envy with discernment. But here's your triumph, chosen one. What they discarded became your direction. What they walked away from became your wings. You've now stepped into environments where your worth isn't questioned, it's cultivated. Your voice doesn't echo in emptiness anymore, it reverberates in resonance with destiny. Have you noticed how peace feels different when you no longer have to protect it from people who misunderstand it? That's where you are now. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. You have learned that your presence is precious and your withdrawal is wisdom. So let this be your testimony. You were the bridge, and they broke it. You were the sanctuary, and they fled from safety. But the story doesn't end in their regret, it begins in your renewal. Walk boldly in your divine gift. Let your supernatural perception continue guiding you to those who recognize the sacred when they see it. And for those who feel this story in their bones, share it. What bridges did you cross or watch burn in the name of peace? What truths did your silence teach? Comment below so that others might see that leaving isn't loss, it's liberation. Because you, chosen one, were never the backup plan. You were the blueprint. Your calm exposed the storms they tried to hide. Your peace was so loud it screamed over their chaos, and that's what broke them. You, chosen one, didn't need to shout to shift the atmosphere. Your stillness carried the frequency of heaven itself, a divine gift that could not be imitated, a supernatural perception that made you see through the noise, straight into the root of things. You didn't come armed with weapons, you came armored with peace. But to those who lived off drama, your calm was confrontation. Your ability to exist without dysfunction threatened every lie they told themselves about strength. They never hated what you did, they hated what you didn't have, the inner demons that they themselves were feeding. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5 reminds us. Your very existence proved that peace is possible, that healing is real, that wholeness doesn't depend on noise. Yet those who were still slaves to their own chaos saw you as a mirror reflecting their turmoil, and that reflection, clear, unwavering, honest, was unbearable. Sometimes the only sin of the chosen is existing without distortion. You didn't manipulate, perform, or pretend. You didn't gossip for validation or wear 1,000 masks to fit in. You simply walked into rooms clothed in authenticity, carrying a peace that felt too pure for people used to confusion. Have you ever wondered why your silence irritates those who can't find rest within themselves? Or why your boundaries feel like rejection to those who've built their worth on chaos? It's because peace isn't passive, it's powerful, and power terrifies those who live unhealed. Your calm didn't just unsettle them, it unmasked them. You weren't exposing them intentionally, your presence simply reflected truth. Like Christ before the Pharisees, your serenity convicted them without words. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God, Matthew 5-9 declares. And that's exactly who you are, God's child, carrying serenity so divine that it exposes what falsehood cannot hide. The composer Henryk Górecki once wrote his Symphony of Sorrowful Songs, a masterpiece where the quietest notes carry the deepest pain. Your calm worked the same way. It wasn't weakness, it was wisdom written in stillness. You learned that peace can roar louder than rage. While they screamed for control, you mastered surrender. While they threw chaos your way, you turned it into clarity. You didn't learn this overnight. Your stillness was forged in fire, baptized in betrayal, tempered in tears. You earned that peace. It came from the nights when your prayers were whispers and your strength was running low. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14 echoes through your story. That stillness became your weapon, unseen yet unstoppable. In the real world, a man named Rafael, a humble security guard from Buenos Aires, once said after losing everything, "Silence taught me that not answering pain is its own form of victory." You carry that same revelation. You understood that reacting to chaos only feeds it. True mastery lies in restraint. But the ones who live in noise couldn't bear your quiet power. They labeled your peace as pride, your composure as control, your boundaries as coldness. Yet, the Lord is my refuge and my fortress. Psalm 91:2 reminds you that your stillness isn't emptiness, it's divine protection. You didn't stoop to defend yourself because heaven was already handling what your words never needed to. In psychology, there's something called emotional transference. When a person projects their inner conflict onto another, that's what happened. They weren't fighting you. They were wrestling with their own reflection. And when you refused to join their chaos, they called you detached. But you weren't detached. You were disciplined. You were maintaining your internal architecture solid, centered, sacred. Their rage was never about your actions. It was about your alignment. You didn't join their emotional warfare because your energy moved differently. You were tuned to the divine frequency of peace, while they were addicted to the static of struggle. Like Pontius Pilate standing before Jesus, they couldn't comprehend the power of silence in the face of accusation. When he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he gave no answer. Matthew 27:12 says, and yet his silence shook empires. Your calm did the same. It became your crown. You didn't retaliate, you radiated. You didn't need to clap back. Your results became your response. They tried to drag you into darkness, but all they did was make your light easier to see. So now, as they spiral, you stand stable. As they plot, you prosper. Your growth is the sermon their pride can't ignore. They called you emotionless, but you were simply at peace. They called you distant, but you were just delivered. And here's the truth that humbles every chosen one. Sometimes you trigger the darkness in others just by refusing to live in it yourself. You didn't come to expose their demons, but your presence held up a mirror, heaven polished. That's why they ran. That's why they tried to twist your narrative. But lies lose power in the light, and your peace is now blinding them. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, Isaiah 54:17 affirms, and now you see that promise in motion. You didn't break, you were built differently. You didn't fall apart, you folded into purpose. A theologian once said that calmness is the architecture of trust, the sacred scaffolding that holds faith steady when storms rise. That's what you've built. You've turned every moment of chaos into cathedral columns of composure. So, chosen one, don't feel guilty for your serenity. That calm is your crown. You earned it through fire, through faith, through forgiveness. And if your peace shakes their demons, let it shake. You are not their cure. You were their call to healing, and they ignored it. Let them wrestle with their reflection. You've already walked away from the mirror and into the light. Share this if it speaks to you. What has your peace cost you, and what has it protected? Tell your story below, because peace, this real, deserves to be witnessed. They turned love into a weapon. Now it won't even look their way. You, chosen one, were the living embodiment of what real love feels like. Sacred, steady, alive, with divine frequency. But they couldn't comprehend it. They mistook your divine gift for weakness, your supernatural perception for naivete. They called it love, but you lived it, and that difference is the very reason they lost both you and the blessing attached to you. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. 1 John 4:8 reminds us. They spoke the word, but never carried the essence. You gave from the overflow of your spirit, not from strategy. You loved with clarity, not condition. And yet, they studied your softness like thieves examining a vault, memorizing your patterns, rehearsing your tenderness, mimicking your tone, all to gain access to something they were never prepared to protect. Have you ever wondered how someone can love your light, but hate the responsibility it reveals in them? That's what happened. They weren't in love with you. They were addicted to the reflection of themselves they saw when they stood beside your glow. They built a stage and called it a relationship. They weren't creating connection, they were crafting performance. You, meanwhile, stood there, unscripted, sincere, radiant, with the kind of authenticity that makes pretenders panic. Their imitation could never survive real intimacy, because imitation collapses under the weight of truth. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Romans 12:9 whispers through this very lesson. You were clinging to what was good while they were busy clinging to control. To them, love was leverage. To you, it was language. They measured affection in transactions, while you poured it like living water. And when they couldn't contain it, they tried to own it. When they couldn't own it, they tried to destroy it. They forgot that divine love doesn't bend to manipulation, it exposes it. As the great painter Fra Angelico once said, "He who desires to paint Christ must live with Christ." In the same way, they wanted to experience your divine depth without embodying the discipline it required. They wanted the warmth of your fire without learning how to keep it burning. They wanted the light of your soul without walking through the shadows you endured to earn it. Your love, chosen one, was not casual, it was catalytic. It rearranged their atmosphere. When you walked into their life, you recalibrated the emotional climate. Your presence didn't just fill a space, it purified it. But when you left, the air changed. Suddenly the laughter felt hollow, the conversations flat, the touch meaningless. They tried to recreate your energy with others, but every connection since has felt like an echo-thin, distant counterfeit. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also, Matthew 6:21 teaches. They placed their treasure in performance, and now their heart is empty. And yet, your silence remains louder than their self-justification. You didn't curse them, you simply walked away, carrying your peace like a crown. You didn't post revenge, you embodied restoration. Have you noticed how love always vindicates itself? How truth eventually rises through time, like sunlight breaking through a fog? That's happening now. You are the quiet proof that real love never loses. It's only misplaced until it returns home to someone who recognizes it. The villain in this story isn't an enemy with malice. It's a heart enslaved by ego. Like Samson, who betrayed his strength to someone who only wanted to discover the source of it, they betrayed sacred trust to satisfy curiosity. And just as Samson's hair grew again, your strength is already returning, multiplied by mercy. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34-18 reminds you that divine justice always rebuilds what betrayal tried to break. In nature, the phoenix burns before it rises. That's what your love did. It combusted in betrayal, only to resurrect in power. You became the embodiment of renewal. You turned heartbreak into holy ground. And now, as they scramble to find what they lost, every imitation they chase feels like sand slipping through their fingers. There's a term in physics called potential energy, the stored force waiting for the right moment to move. That's your love. It may seem still, but it carries enough divine voltage to resurrect entire destinies. You no longer pour into those who can't hold what's holy. You've learned that your heart is not a laboratory for people to experiment in. It's a temple where only truth may dwell. A woman named Elena, a nurse from Florence, once shared her story after a devastating betrayal. I realized I was trying to heal someone who kept reopening their own wounds. Her words mirror your revelation. You now understand that love without reciprocity becomes self-destruction. You cannot rescue someone committed to their own ruin. And yes, they'll try again with someone new, with fresh charm, with words they once practiced on you, but it won't work, because energy remembers. Once a soul has touched authenticity, falsehood feels foreign. Every "I love you" they speak now will echo with the emptiness of what they destroyed. You, on the other hand, have evolved. You no longer chase closure, you create it. You no longer beg for love, you embody it. Perfect love casts out fear, 1 John 4:18 declares. And that's your new frequency, fearless, free, fulfilled. So let them carry their consequence, not out of vengeance, but out of vibration, because love doesn't live where betrayal sleeps. You were never their punishment, you were their possibility. And by losing you, they lost access to growth itself. Walk forward, chosen one, knowing this. Your love was never wasted. It watered seeds they were too blind to nurture. And while their garden withers, yours is about to bloom in divine timing. Now, tell me, what did love teach you when pain tried to rewrite the definition? What boundaries grew from your heartbreak? Share your story below, because your healing, your insight, your testimony might be the bridge that saves another soul from mistaking counterfeit affection for covenant love. You, chosen one, were never just a participant in their story. You were the divine gift written between its lines. You carried a supernatural perception that saw beyond the masks, yet your heart still chose mercy over suspicion. And that mercy, radiant and human, became both your offering and their test. They mistook it for weakness, but heaven saw it as strength. For it was said, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." John 1-5. You were that light, steady as dawn, fierce as truth. When they played Cupid with deceit, you still held the bow of faith, unaware that your love was prophecy, not performance. They called it love, but for you, it was covenant. You didn't just feel affection, you embodied grace. Like the cedar that grows even in storm, your spirit stood tall, unshaken by their shadows. But what happens when someone builds a temple only to worship their reflection in its mirrors? What happens when they see your soul not as sanctuary, but as a marketplace? It's written, "Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs." Matthew 7-6. And yet, you gave anyway, because you were built from compassion, not caution. They weren't after connection, they were after control. Like Judas, they kissed with betrayal, still warm on their breath. They studied your softness the way a thief studies the lock of a treasure chest. Their love was rehearsal, not revelation. and when the curtain fell, so did their disguise. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest. Luke 8:17. You saw it then, not a soulmate, but a strategy, a counterfeit creation that crumbled under truth's weight. Still, you didn't curse them. You walked away like dawn, leaving the night behind. Because, chosen one, your departure was not escape, it was ascension. You took with you the frequency of peace, and now their world sounds hollow without it. Like a field once full of songbirds, now echoing silence, their energy collapses under the weight of its own emptiness. They thought they could mimic the melody, but the divine doesn't replay for counterfeit hearts. Tell me, when love has been used as a weapon, can the wound still learn to trust touch again? And while they try to replicate your presence, their efforts fail. Because what you carried wasn't emotion, it was an anointing. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. Galatians 5:22. These weren't things you practiced, they were things you became. They could imitate your tone, your gestures, your warmth, but never your essence. Energy doesn't lie, and truth doesn't echo in empty halls. Yet, chosen one, don't let this make you bitter. Let it make you discerning. Even the serpent in Eden wore beauty before it spoke deceit. And just as Eve faced temptation under a tree, you faced betrayal under the shade of what looked like love. But here's where your story shifts, because unlike them, you rise differently, you heal differently, you rebuild not with bitterness, but with boundary. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. You were meant to soar, not stay. And the ones who betrayed? Their reflection now whispers their punishment. Like a garden untended, their spirit grows weeds where your light once bloomed. They crave your energy but cannot recreate it, because divine love doesn't dwell where manipulation reigns. God is not mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Galatians 6-7. Their harvest will be the echo of what they planted in deceit. But yours will be restoration, abundance, alignment. So, chosen one, when the night grows heavy and memories try to haunt, remember this. Your story is not one of loss but of revelation. You were never too much. You were the measure they couldn't meet, the fire they couldn't hold, the peace they couldn't corrupt. So rise again and again, because your love is not a scar, it's a seal. And what was meant to break you only revealed that you were unbreakable all along. You, chosen one, were never meant to argue with lies, you were born to outlive them. You carried a truth so divine, so untouchable, that deception could only circle you, never conquer you. They lied loudly, but heaven heard the silence of your restraint. And now, that silence, steady, sacred, surgical, is the very sound undoing every falsehood they built. Because truth, chosen one, does not rush. It observes, it unfolds, it waits for divine timing to reveal its justice. For there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. Luke 12:2. When they built their thrones on deceit, you were walking barefoot on grace. Their castles were made of smoke, yours of substance. They crafted stories where they wore halos and painted you with horns, but you didn't chase the crowd, you let time do what truth always does, separate gold from glitter. And just as the psalmist wrote, "The Lord is near to all who call on him in truth," Psalm 145-18. Your quiet faith became the courtroom where truth itself testified for you. Tell me, have you ever felt the strange calm that follows when you stop defending yourself and let heaven defend you? They didn't just twist the truth, they engineered it with precision. Every word rehearsed, every tear timed, every accusation sharpened to pierce your reputation. But what they didn't realize is that your peace was their undoing. You didn't chase explanations because you understood something they never will. Lies demand attention, truth commands revelation. Like light breaking through fog, it doesn't scream, it simply appears. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. Their manipulation was their masterpiece, but you, chosen one, were not a canvas they couldn't paint over your essence. While they performed, you evolved. Like a phoenix, you rose quietly from the ashes of misrepresentation. Every scar turned into scripture. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. You waited, knowing that divine timing doesn't miss. And slowly, the same audience that once applauded their deceit now whispers in confusion, their faith in falsehood crumbling. The show has ended, and truth has stolen the spotlight. It reminds me of something Pope John Paul II once said: "The truth is not always popular, but it is always powerful." You lived that sermon without ever speaking it. And now, as their false narrative unravels like thread pulled from a rotten fabric, you stand like the oak, unmoved, unbroken. The world watches, and without saying a word, your integrity preaches louder than any pulpit. But chosen one, have you noticed how lies age? They rot in silence, fermenting into guilt. The very voices that once shouted against you are now trembling under the weight of their own deceit. And that's divine justice. It doesn't humiliate, it humbles. As Scripture says, "Whoever digs a pit will fall into it," Proverbs 26-27. They dug deep, thinking you'd drown, but they fell into their own trench of falsehood. Your comeback isn't loud, it's luminous. It's the kind that echoes through energy, not words. Your peace confuses those who expected your destruction. They wonder why you haven't crumbled, why you haven't lashed out, why you aren't screaming for validation. But they don't understand. Chosen ones don't fight for truth, they embody it. And that embodiment terrifies the deceitful, for your supernatural perception pierces through every illusion they hide behind. And like Beethoven's symphony, No. 7, where the allegretto swells with rising tension, only to resolve into solemn triumph, your life now plays the same melody. Pain transformed into purpose, silence turned into strength. Each note of endurance becomes an anthem of divine justice. It's the rhythm of resurrection, the sound of truth reclaiming its throne. There's an old story from the painter Michelangelo, who once said that his sculptures already existed within the marble. He simply removed what didn't belong. That's what truth is doing with your story, chosen one. God is chiseling away every lie, every false perception, revealing the masterpiece he always knew you were. And those who tried to bury you, they've only become part of the dust from which your monument rises. As the book of Romans declares, if God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. That's not a question, it's a verdict. You are living proof that divine justice doesn't just balance the scales, it shatters them. And now, as those who betrayed you scramble to maintain their masks, you walk untouched, radiant, untethered. But I'll tell you the hardest truth I've learned through this. Sometimes God lets lies win for a season so that truth can win for eternity. That's the price of divine patience. Because when truth finally arrives, it doesn't just correct the story, it redeems the storyteller. And chosen one, that's your miracle. You didn't just survive defamation, you transcended it. Now I ask, what have you learned from the times your truth was buried under someone else's performance? Have you seen how God turned that betrayal into breakthrough? Share it. Because when your story reaches another wounded heart, healing multiplies. The truth doesn't just set you free, it frees everyone who hears it. You, chosen one, didn't just come back, you resurrected. You rose from what was meant to destroy you, not by chance, but by divine design, carrying a blueprint etched with supernatural perception and holy resilience. What they buried was not your end, it was the seed of your rebirth. You were not planted in darkness to decay, you were buried so that your divine gift could sprout in secret. Like the acorn split beneath the soil before becoming an oak, your breaking was not your burial, it was your beginning. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. John 12:24. They thought the silence that followed your fall was defeat, but silence, in the hands of the chosen, is strategy. You didn't rush to reclaim your name, you rebuilt your soul. And as you healed, truth worked in the unseen, rearranging heaven and earth to vindicate you. There is something sacred about a comeback that doesn't scream, it glows. Your quiet presence now carries weight, an unseen authority that shifts rooms like wind through trees, unpredictable yet undeniable. When you walk in, energy adjusts. The same air that once carried whispers about you now trembles under your peace. And yet, how many of us have mistaken our burial for an ending? How many times have you asked God, "Why me? Why this pain?" when all along He was building power in your silence? The story of Joseph echoes here. Sold, betrayed, forgotten, but the Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man. Genesis 39:2. You too were set aside so you could be set apart. Every betrayal was positioning, every exile was alignment, every wound was instruction. The ones who broke you believed they'd erased you. They built thrones on your pain, laughed at your absence, and toasted to your supposed ending. But chosen one, they didn't know that destiny doesn't die in dirt, it multiplies. Like Moses in the wilderness, your isolation became your education. You learned the sacred language of endurance. And now you return, not begging for a seat, you build the table. You are the proof of what divine restoration looks like in human form. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. Psalm 113:7. In the stillness, you found what they never could: clarity. You no longer bleed to prove your heart. You no longer speak to prove your worth. You simply are, and that is your victory. You've become like the lion emerging from the tall grass, not rushing, not roaring, but undeniable. Your energy no longer seeks validation, it commands respect. The same mouths that cursed you now whisper your name with reverence, unsure how the one they buried became the one shining. It's strange, isn't it, how those who once mocked your stillness now fear your stability. That's what divine elevation does. It exposes the instability of those who tried to bury you. It reminds me of Lucifer, the first being to fall through pride. He had beauty, light, and favor, yet he wanted God's throne. And what happened? His own ambition became his destruction. Pride, when unchecked, always leads to descent. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. So too with those who sought to play God in your story, their control has become their collapse. But chosen one, vengeance was never your mission, vision was. You didn't come back to prove them wrong, you came back to prove what grace can do. The way a forest heals itself after fire, you rebuilt, silently but powerfully. You are living proof that divine timing is undefeated. And when you rise with peace instead of pride, heaven takes notice. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:21. Still, there's a question that lingers in the hearts of those listening. What do you do when you rise and the people who hurt you still pretend nothing happened? Do you confront or do you continue? The answer, chosen one, is in your calling. You were never called to wrestle with shadows, you were called to walk in light. Forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's freeing your energy from the weight of what's already beneath you. You now carry the quiet authority of someone who has seen the battlefield and decided to plant gardens there instead. Like the eagle that uses the storm's wind to soar higher, your trials became your lift. Each betrayal, each mockery, each wound, they weren't curses, they were coordinates to your destiny. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. And here's what the world sees now. Your peace has become their conviction, your glow, their mirror. Every room you enter becomes a courtroom of truth. You don't need to prove who you are anymore. Your existence has already done it. You are the evidence that divine justice doesn't shout, it shows. But let's be honest, this kind of transformation demands surrender. It's the death of the ego, the shedding of bitterness, the release of revenge. You've learned that real power doesn't roar, it radiates. Real healing doesn't hide, it hums quietly through your spirit. And that's why your presence now feels different. because it is different. You've been refined, not replaced. Your story, chosen one, is no longer a tragedy, it's a template. The comeback is your ministry now. And for those reading, ask yourself, what was buried in your life that God might be resurrecting right now? Could it be that your current silence is not punishment, but preparation? Share that moment. Speak that revelation, because when you share your evidence, you become someone else's proof that resurrection is still possible. You, chosen one, were never meant to build crowds, you were meant to build kingdoms. You didn't need an army because heaven had already armed you with truth, clarity, and divine frequency that no rumor could distort. They gathered haters, you gathered wisdom. They collected voices, you collected silence. And silence, when it's divine, becomes thunder. You didn't shout your innocence into the noise, you let resonance do the work. Because truth, like sound waves in physics, never disappears, it just travels until it finds the right ear to vibrate against. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, Isaiah 54:17, and you, chosen one, have become the living experiment that proves it. They built alliances in shadows, whispering like architects of chaos, constructing walls made of gossip instead of stone, but their structure was faulty from the foundation. They forgot the law of integrity that anything built on lies collapses under its own weight. You, meanwhile, were building differently, not with bricks of bitterness, but with beams of faith. In spiritual architecture, you were the blueprint heaven kept hidden until the right moment. And now, the very energy they tried to destroy has become your cathedral. Have you ever noticed how truth moves like light through glass, reflected, refracted, but never destroyed? That's what happened when you stood still. Every attempt to distort your image only scattered your radiance into new directions. What they meant for humiliation became multiplication. Just as Joseph said to his brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. Your story became sacred. Mathematics pain multiplied by grace equals purpose. They called meetings in your absence, plotted in digital dungeons, crafted narratives like amateur playwrights seeking applause. They wanted to be the directors of your downfall. But chosen one, divine scripts can't be rewritten by human hands. You stood quietly, and like the law of thermodynamics, your energy didn't disappear, it transformed, it ascended. And now, while their hate has decayed into static, your peace hums at a higher frequency they can't reach. It reminds me of a janitor named Martha Ruiz from a small town in Texas, a woman no one noticed until she began leaving handwritten notes of encouragement under desks at the high school where she worked. Years later, when she retired, the entire community showed up to honor her, holding the same notes she once left behind. She said, "I didn't have a microphone, but I had words." You, chosen one, have that same anointing. You don't fight crowds, you transform them through quiet endurance. But why do people fear what they can't control? Why do they build armies against what stands alone? The truth is psychological. When someone lacks self-worth, they build identity through opposition. It's projection, not perception. Their minds operate like mirrors cracked by envy, reflecting fragments instead of truth. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Matthew 12:34. They didn't speak about you, they revealed themselves. Their whispers were like migrating crows, loud for a season, gone by winter. They thought numbers meant power, forgetting that real power operates through alignment, not agreement. Like magnetic fields, two opposing frequencies repel until only the authentic remains. You stayed still, grounded, vibrating with truth, and eventually falseness scattered because energy always seeks equilibrium. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. And now, their hate parade marches in circles. The people they recruited have grown tired, suspicious, aware. What started as a movement has become a mirror of their own misery. Because hate, like fire, consumes its builders first. Their empire of resentment is collapsing under the gravity of guilt. You, meanwhile, walk untouched, glowing with supernatural perception that senses deceit before it speaks. Your comeback, chosen one, isn't just emotional, it's cosmic. You're aligned with divine geometry now, the golden ratio of grace and growth. Every trial was a measurement, every betrayal a recalibration. Heaven has been engineering your restoration like an architect designing a bridge after the flood. And that bridge, you are walking across it now. He makes all things beautiful in its time, Ecclesiastes 3:11. The ones who built against you wanted an audience. You wanted alignment. And that's the difference between performance and purpose. You didn't fight to be understood because you finally understood yourself. The divine gift within you became your compass, guiding you through fog into fulfillment. They needed crowds to feel seen. You only needed God to be known. But here's the lesson I've learned, the one that burns and blesses at the same time. Sometimes God allows the crowd to form, not to break you, but to broadcast you. He lets the lies echo long enough for the truth to sound like thunder when it arrives. And when that happens, everything hidden gets rearranged. You become both the evidence and the echo. So, to anyone reading this, when your name becomes a rumor, remember, it's not your job to chase it. It's your duty to outlast it. Share your story of standing still when everything around you tried to shake you. Someone needs to know that silence, too, is a weapon in divine warfare. The crowd may scatter, but truth never loses frequency. You, chosen one, were never erased. You were encrypted. You were written into eternity's memory with divine ink that no human hand can delete. They thought they could rewrite your story, bury your work, erase your name from conversations and chronicles. But they forgot one thing: heaven keeps records. When the world closes its books, heaven opens its archives. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, Jeremiah 1-5, and that knowledge became your safeguard, an eternal preservation of everything pure you've built. They tried to bury your legacy under rumors like dust covering sacred glass. Yet truth, chosen one, doesn't decay. It refracts, it bends light, until every attempt to hide it becomes illumination. They called your achievements coincidence, your miracles luck, your impact temporary. But heaven calls it data, spiritual data, stored in divine frequency. The architect of the cosmos doesn't lose his blueprints. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Matthew 24-35. So how could your purpose, which was born from his word, ever vanish? You, with your supernatural perception, saw this long before they did. You felt it in the quiet moments, how certain people began to rewrite your influence, take your credit, dim your contribution to protect their own insecurity. You watched them move like editors of history, redacting lines they were never authorized to touch. But chosen one, the author still holds the pen. The book of life still bears your name, engraved not in ink, but in light. I have engraved you on the palms of my hands, Isaiah 49-16. And yet, the pain of invisibility wasn't easy. You gave, you built, you poured, and when it was time for acknowledgement, silence stood in applause's place. But silence has its own language. It whispers to heaven, and heaven responds. There's a divine algorithm at work. Every unseen act sends ripples through eternity, like waves transmitting across a celestial frequency. Energy never disappears, it transforms. That's not just physics, it's spiritual law. Do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season you shall reap if you do not give up. Galatians 6-9. A modern philosopher once said, "History belongs to the storytellers, but you, chosen one, belong to the storyteller himself." Your legacy doesn't live in social applause, it breathes in eternal resonance. The French painter Georges Rouault, once mocked for his dark religious art, said before his death, "I paint to bear witness." Years later, his works hung in cathedrals across Europe. What he did in obscurity heaven had already signed in gold. Doesn't that mirror your story? How many things have you created that others tried to claim, only to find that the essence remained unmistakably yours? And when you look closer, you'll realize that every attempt to erase you was prophecy in reverse. Like the shadow that proves the existence of light, their betrayal proved your authenticity. You were never meant to be popular, you were meant to be permanent. And permanence, in heaven's terms, is not measured in followers or fame, but in frequency, the vibration of love, truth, and impact that continues long after the sound stops. It's the same way Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 carries joy through generations. What was once sound becomes spirit. Your works will follow you. Revelation 14:13. Still, have you noticed how often greatness must be hidden first? How the seed vanishes before the tree rises? How legacy matures in shadows before it blooms in the light? You were never forgotten, chosen one. You were being formatted for glory. God didn't lose your file. He was upgrading your system. Legacy, after all, is divine architecture. Every unseen act, every unacknowledged effort becomes a pillar in heaven's cathedral. There's a story of Annalise Graham, an unknown violinist from Sweden who played every Sunday at a small rural church for decades. Only 5 or 6 people would come. After her passing, one of her compositions was discovered and later performed by the London Philharmonic. The melody? It carried the same peace she poured in silence for years. That's divine mathematics. What you give in private, heaven multiplies in public. So, chosen one, what if your legacy isn't lost, but uploaded, stored in heaven's archive, waiting for its divine release? What if your quiet years were never wasted, but written in invisible ink, waiting for the right light to reveal them? Because God's justice is not delayed, it's deliberate. For God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him. Hebrews 6:10. And this is the brutal beauty I've learned. People may erase your name from the walls of men, but heaven writes it across the sky. Legacy is not who remembers you, it's what God remembers through you. Every prayer, every act of kindness, every tear archived, every lesson learned, every wound healed, every seed sown in secret, backed up by eternity itself. So, share your story. Speak your truth. Tell the world what you built when no one was watching, because someone else needs to know that invisibility is not failure, it's preservation. Heaven's archive is never corrupted. And when the time comes, God will hit restore, and every erased record will rise again in glory. You, chosen one, were never silent because you were weak. You were silent because you were in training. You weren't surrendering. You were synchronizing with heaven's frequency. They mistook your stillness for defeat, but they didn't realize you were mastering divine timing, aligning every breath with purpose. While they rushed to speak, you learned to listen, and that's where heaven speaks loudest, not in thunder, but in stillness. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. They saw you retreat and called it retreating in fear, but you were stepping into formation. Like the ocean pulling back before the wave strikes, your quiet was not withdrawal, it was preparation. You weren't being passive, you were being precise. Your silence was strategy. The divine gift within you knew that reaction feeds chaos, but stillness builds authority. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. And yet, it's hard, isn't it? To stay quiet when your heart burns with truth. To let misunderstanding linger while grace is still building its case. Have you ever felt that ache? The one that tells you to roar, but heaven whispers, wait. That's the refining of the chosen. The supernatural perception in you understands that stillness isn't the absence of movement, it's the mastery of momentum. Still waters run deep because they move with control, not chaos. While they were speaking your name in rooms you've never entered, you were being prepared in rooms they'll never reach. You were learning the science of surrender, the sacred physics of restraint. The same way an archer pulls the bow backward before releasing the arrow, Heaven was pulling you into silence to build your velocity. The pause wasn't punishment, it was propulsion. In that quiet season, your spirit was recalibrating. You were tuning your frequency to divine resonance. Every prayer, every tear, every sleepless night became part of your spiritual waveform. You didn't just sit in stillness, you became stillness. You embodied it like a monk, standing unmoved amid storm and chaos. The world screamed, but you learned the art of hearing God in the whisper between seconds. In repentance and rest is your salvation, in quietness and trust is your strength. Isaiah 30-15. There's a story from Brother Lawrence, a humble kitchen monk in 17th century France, who wrote The Practice of the Presence of God. He said, "The time of business does not with me differ from the time of prayer." Like him, chosen one, you've learned that stillness isn't about location, it's about vibration. You carry heaven's calm into chaos. You're the equilibrium in rooms addicted to noise. Nature understands this truth better than men. The eagle doesn't flap its wings endlessly, it waits for the right current to rise. The bamboo doesn't break in storms, it bends, storing its strength for spring. Even the volcano stays silent for years before erupting with force that reshapes the land. That's you gathering quiet pressure, waiting for divine eruption. And when it happens, the same people who mocked your silence will call your comeback sudden. But there's nothing sudden about a soul that's been steady. It's always the impatient who fall first. Remember Saul, who grew tired of waiting for Samuel and offered sacrifice too soon, 1 Samuel 13-8-14. His crown was lost not through battle, but through impatience. The ones who mocked your stillness will meet the same fate. They moved out of timing. You moved in rhythm with eternity. That's why their victories evaporate while yours multiply. But chosen one, the lesson isn't to despise their noise, it's to master your own peace. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom with a pulse. You learned that stillness doesn't mean doing nothing, it means doing only what aligns. And that's where your real power comes from, because you stopped reacting and started responding with revelation. And perhaps the greatest battle was not against others, but against your own impatience. The mind screams, "Move," while the spirit whispers, "Wait." The heart aches to speak, but wisdom says, "Not yet." Can you feel that tension, the sacred waiting before the breakthrough? That's where heaven forges generals, because the quiet before victory is the holiest sound on earth. You now carry a different energy, grounded, unshakable, celestial. You're no longer pulled by panic or provoked by lies. You walk like time itself bends around you, because when you mastered stillness, you mastered dominion. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4-7. And here's what I've learned through my own silence. The moments that feel like waiting are often the ones where heaven is working hardest. When the stage is quiet, that's when God rearranges the scene. Your stillness wasn't delay, it was design. Your quiet wasn't surrender, it was your coronation rehearsal. So don't rush your season, don't break the silence. Let them misinterpret you, let them speak. Because when the appointed time comes, your voice will carry the weight of truth, not noise. So now I ask you, what has silence been teaching you lately? Has it been breaking you or building you? And when you look back, will you remember this season as waiting or as preparation? Share that truth, chosen one. Someone needs to know that stillness isn't the absence of progress, it's the posture of power. You, chosen one, were never alone in that silence. You were being positioned. You didn't lose the crowd. Heaven cleared the room so the truth could echo. They weaponized people, but truth weaponized time. And when time starts revealing, it does so with surgical precision. You didn't have to speak, because the lie carried its own expiration date. What they built on manipulation was like a poorly wired circuit eventually. The current of truth overloaded it, and everything they'd constructed began to short out. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest. nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Luke 8:17. They thought they could sustain their illusion through repetition, but repetition can't replace revelation. Lies may travel at the speed of sound, but truth moves at the speed of light. And when light appears, sound becomes irrelevant. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5. You, chosen one, became that light, quiet but undeniable, consistent but powerful. Like a fixed star among planets, your orbit remained steady while theirs spun out of control. In the spiritual architecture of justice, there's a law that mirrors physics: resonance. When a false vibration collides with truth's frequency, the weaker one always collapses. That's why their army began to vanish, not because you exposed them, but because their own energy was unsustainable. The divine gift inside you created an energetic field they couldn't inhabit. Supernatural perception allowed you to sense it long before it was visible. They didn't leave your life, you outgrew their wavelength. And the ones they recruited? They're starting to see it. They feel the distortion. The tone doesn't match the truth anymore. The script they were given to perform now feels brittle in their mouths. They're realizing the so-called victim was always performing for attention, not healing for peace. Like actors caught off script, their lines fall apart under the weight of reality. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. Proverbs 26-27. The pit they designed for you became their reflection pool, and they can't stand what they see. You didn't clap back because spiritual power doesn't waste its breath, it calibrates its atmosphere. While they posted, you prayed. While they gossiped, you grew. While they gathered noise, you gathered knowledge. Your silence wasn't passivity, it was precision. The scientist in the lab knows that silence is the moment before discovery, the stillness before transformation. Your stillness became your formula for divine acceleration. There's a story about a cafe owner named Diana Lopez who quietly built her small bakery after a competitor tried to ruin her reputation with lies. She didn't fight back, she just kept baking. 2 years later, her rival shut down, while her cafe became a sanctuary for the same community that once doubted her. She said, "Silence isn't surrender. It's proof you trust the recipe. You, chosen one, trusted heaven's recipe." Every delay became dough rising in unseen warmth. But here's the irony. Their obsession is now their exposure. People are beginning to ask, why are they still talking about you? Why does their story keep changing? Why can't they let go of the one who's already moved on? These are questions that unravel lies faster than any rebuttal ever could. The energy of truth doesn't chase, it attracts revelation. That's why your peace speaks louder than their panic. In psychology, this is called cognitive dissonance, when a person's actions can't support the story they tell. Spiritually, it's divine dissonance. Heaven creates internal friction inside the dishonest until their performance collapses under guilt. And when that collapse happens, it's quiet, no drama, no headlines, just the weight of conscience echoing through empty rooms. Meanwhile, you kept moving like a river, unbothered by stones thrown your way. The current of purpose doesn't stop to argue, it flows around obstacles until they erode. They mistook your peace for pride, your distance for disdain, but the truth is, you were too focused on construction to engage in destruction. While they were burning bridges, you were building cathedrals, cathedrals of character, faith, and consistency. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Psalm 127:1. The more you rose, the quieter their noise became. That's what divine equilibrium looks like. Gravity pulling everything false to the ground. The crowd they once weaponized is slipping away like sand through clenched fists. No allies, no audience. Only the echo of guilt. Because every lie creates its own haunting. The truth doesn't chase, it waits. And time, chosen one, always fights for the one who stayed faithful. But here's what struck me hardest through my own battles. When people try to exile you, they are actually exiling themselves from peace. It's a spiritual paradox. The moment they lie about you, they step outside of divine protection. Their spotlight becomes a heat lamp, exposing rather than illuminating. For whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. Galatians 6-7. You didn't have to curse them. Life became the consequence. So let them face the silence they created. Let them feel the echo of the words they weaponized. That's not revenge, it's resonance. You don't need to prove your purity. Time already archived it. You just keep moving in truth's frequency. And for anyone who's reading this, if your name has ever been dragged through falsehood, remember this truth. The truth doesn't need protection, it needs patience. Because, chosen one, your silence wasn't surrender. It was science, it was spirit, it was strategy. The Creator doesn't rush justice, He engineers it with precision. You are living proof of that equation. Faith multiplied by time equals revelation, and revelation, unlike rumor, never fades. And here we are, chosen ones at the end of this chapter, but never the end of your story. Every battle, every silence, every moment you were misunderstood or misjudged, they weren't random, they were refinement. You've walked through fire and came out carrying revelation. You've stood in storms and discovered your stillness was not weakness, but sacred strength. What they meant to erase, heaven archived. What they tried to silence, God amplified. You, chosen one, are living proof that divine timing is undefeated. When they mistook your quiet for defeat, heaven saw it as preparation. When they built armies against you, heaven built character within you. You didn't lose people, you lost illusions. You didn't lose opportunities, you lost distractions. You didn't lose your voice, you gained discernment. Everything that was stripped away was simply creating room for the divine gift that had been growing inside you all along. And now, that supernatural perception, that unshakable peace, that radiant clarity, it's your new language. You don't need to defend what God has already confirmed. I know, sometimes it hurt the waiting, the betrayal, the misunderstanding. But look at you now. You didn't just survive it, you transcended it. You learned that the realest kind of power is quiet. That miracles don't always shout. Sometimes they simply stay. That being chosen doesn't mean being celebrated. It means being set apart until you're ready to carry the weight of what's coming next. Because when God hides you, He's not withholding you, He's preparing you. The Lord will perfect that which concerns me. Psalm 138:8. And maybe, just maybe, this is your moment to pause and breathe, to realize that your journey wasn't about proving them wrong, it was about proving heaven right. The truth doesn't rush to win arguments, it waits to win hearts. You have become the evidence of grace, of growth, of divine restoration. You're walking proof that pain can become purpose, and silence can become strategy. If this message spoke to your soul, if it reminded you of your worth, your faith, or your strength, I invite you to join this space of light. Hit that like button, share this message with someone who's walking through their own silence, and leave a comment telling me what chapter of your story God is rewriting right now. Your words might be the healing someone else has been praying for. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel so we can keep building this sacred community of warriors, healers, and believers who refuse to let the darkness have the last word. To everyone who's been here, who watches, who listens, who comments, who simply sits in the quiet letting these words wash over them, thank you. Whether you've supported through a super thanks or simply with your presence and prayer, I see you. More importantly, heaven sees you. You are not invisible, you are invaluable. Every view, every message, every moment of your attention fuels this mission, to speak life where the world has tried to speak defeat. And as this chapter closes, I want to bless you. May your peace multiply, may your discernment sharpen, may your voice return with authority, may your name be restored in rooms that once tried to erase it. May every lie collapse under the gravity of truth, and may every seed you planted in pain bloom in divine timing. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are in sync with the rhythm of heaven, and heaven is never late. Walk in your light, chosen one. Guard your stillness like a sanctuary, because what's coming next is not a recovery, it's a resurrection. And when you rise this time, there will be no doubt whose hands shaped your story. Until next time, keep shining, keep standing, and keep choosing peace. You are loved, you are guided, and you are exactly where you're meant to be.